Let me say good morning to those of you listening to Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9 on the FM dial. Let me say good morning also to those of you who are viewing via GBN TV. Whether you're viewing Channel 7, Channel 11, good morning to you. Channels 20, let me get that right. What about our social media platforms? Those of you via the Facebook page, YouTube channels, good morning. GBN's webpage, gbn.gd, good morning to you. Welcome. I'm GT, your host here on To The Point. Today being Tuesday, the 8th day of October. It's To The Point. Let me say good morning to my guest this morning, Mr. Dwight Horsford. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome to The Point, sir. Good morning to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and to all of your listeners.
How are you doing this morning, sir? How are you doing this morning?
Very good. Feeling
I think it's my first time meeting you in person. It's also my first time having an interview. Well, more or less, everything's like a first day. It's like a first. So, all right.
Well, you're off to a good start.
Well, hopefully. Let's get the ball rolling this morning in terms of the conversation we're having this morning. Now, you were recently back from Angola, sir.
Yes.
Where you serve as 2 terms as Attorney General.
3.
3 terms. No, it's 2. Well, I should know that. I should have a correction there. Also, part of your contribution was the recent, of course, revision, I should say, of the laws of Angola. We hear the rumbling that the need for another referendum of course, if not change to but amend our constitution. Do you see that as necessary? Or if so, is the time right? No, is it the right time? You could say that. And bearing in mind we have already 2 failed referendums. What's your take on that, sir?
Well, there are 2 things to consider here. The first is the revision of the laws. That process, that exercise is not necessarily a constitutional reform exercise. Mm-hmm. That's just updating your laws to make them current with new and emerging realities and to make access to the law easier for the public to use and to understand. In terms of constitutional reform is always something that must, as a nation grows, we're 50 this year, we must always review our constitution to see if it is meeting the needs of an emerging society. So constitutional reform is always something that any nation must from time to time consider and people must engage in. But in our context, I appreciate that we've done a referendum exercise twice. But it does not mean that we should not continue the process of constitutional reform. And that process involves discussion, dialogue with the public. But fundamentally, it requires that people understand the constitution that they have already. Yeah. People understand civics, the constitutional rights and civil liberties and these things. And I think that's where the discussion should focus before we talk about the political aspects of it, which is amendments to the law and going to the public for them to vote on it. So constitutional reform is an evolving discussion. It's always an evolving discussion.
All right, great to see that. Now, you also been, of course, is it your second stint as a senator, if I'm correct?
Yes, it is.
It's your second stint as a senator. What are the expectations, of course, as your role being in the Senate right now? What are we to expect?
I think it would be a different experience. On the first occasion, the experience was a very enriching and robust one. Certainly on this occasion, I look forward to it being a challenging role, particularly as with the first we are in opposition. So we would be speaking from the perspective of opposition members, looking at government proposals, particularly policy initiatives that become law, because, law is usually, in the context of governance, law is usually the expression of policy. But on this occasion, I'm looking forward to it. The lineup on the opposite side is obviously different to the 2008 to 2013 experience, which I've had before. You have more freshmen, so to speak, newer people, and people who may not have had the same experience and gravitas as those before. but I am interested in engaging.
Okay.
Certainly, there are very important issues of the day that need to be refined and need to be settled and discussed in a meaningful way. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Okay, great. Now, you've been in Anguilla for a wee bit. Now you're back in Grenada here, sir. The political landscape as it is now in Grenada, what's your thoughts on it? Having a government of younger individuals who are there, like ourselves, right? They're 2 years plus. Your take on the political landscape as it stands right now, what's your impression of it?
It's rather interesting because as the Asians see life as really a cyclical cosmic experience, things that happened before tend to happen again from time to time, generationally through different people emerging in different times. Every time there is a dramatic change in the landscape, is usually because there are new and fresh people coming to the fore. And we've seen this before in our country. And we're seeing a different landscape now in that the older, more seasoned generation of politicians and leaders are naturally receding. That is only part of the natural order of things. And I think this is a very interesting time because the country is not quite yet settled on the way forward, I would say. Because this is a period of change when you're shifting from one generation, one time period to the other. It is usually a process. It's not really an event. The event of an election may give expression to something that is happening or the beginning of a process, but it's not quite the end of it all.
All right. Happy to hear that. My next question goes along this line. Of course, it goes to, the organization that also you represent, right? You were a part here representing this one, the New National Party.
Yeah.
Is there really a leadership question in the NNP, or is it just public perception? I would like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that clearly is a narrative that was developed by certain partisan and political interests. There is a leader of the party, and the leader has made certain utterances which are, in my opinion, quite clear as to his own political future and the way he sees the party evolving and what he intends to be his contribution to the rejuvenation and the transition of the party. That, in my opinion, is pretty clear. We are engaged in politics, so it is beneficial to some to create the narrative that there is a squabble for leadership and that sort of thing. No, every party operates differently.
Yeah.
The New National Party has its own traditions and its own ethos, and so does the NDC. From what I can see, the party is well on course to do what it needs to do, and I'm quite satisfied that the New National Party is a very dynamic and very strong, very rooted national institution. I think that's what people forget. This is not a loose arrangement here. The New National Party is an institution, and it's here to stay.
All right. And this leads me to ask you this question. Are you have the desire, interest of becoming a political leader of the New National Party anytime?
I've been asked that before. Not too long ago in an interview with one of your colleagues in one of the FM stations, and my perspective on the matter is simply this. For people like me coming at this time, it is not to seek leadership. Leadership in this context is not something you campaign for. It's something that you navigate towards because you have to be prepared. I think we're seeing right now the pitfalls of not being ready for leadership. People see lights and the glitters of leadership, but sometimes you have to learn to follow before you can lead. And it is important that you ready yourself by being involved in the processes of the party, understanding the culture, understanding the politics, formulating ideas, honing in skills, and producing pathways for success for the party and pathways for progress and prosperity for the country. So it must be an internal party process in which one gets involved in to develop skills for country leadership. And so, as far as I'm concerned, right now, my primary focus really is to assist the party in that process of rejuvenation and renewal, as it must undertake at this time.
All right. Well, you said, of course, you would prefer to be ready for such a position if it happened. Which leads me to it was a question I wanted to ask you. In the eventuality that you find yourself at the helm of the new national party, what would be your first major priority?
Well, one always rises to the occasion if one is preparing and one is getting ready. Now, the priorities will change depending on the circumstances at the time. I can't say right now what would be first and foremost, but certainly the putting together of a team with the necessary skills, competencies to be ready to govern from day one will be the priority of any leader. Certainly the party at that time would be ready, and not just for an election, but to govern. So, as I said earlier, that is where my focus is now.
Yes.
Helping the party to get its order in place, to make sure that structures are there, and to do my part to help in the onward and upward liftment of the party and its development. That is the focus right now.
That's your primary focus
Clearly,
for now. We drew for a break in this summer. Let's take our break, folks. When we come back, we got much more for you. Stay with us. It's To the Point here on Classic Radio GBN TV. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch your dial.
Kalinago Beach Resort, Caswell Stationery Services, Real Value IG Supermarket, and Assistance Paints, proud partners of the 18th Annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert, Saturday, October 26th, Grenada Trade Center, 7:30 p.m.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started. This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember only with GBN.
Welcome back to our listeners. Welcome back to our viewers. It's, of course, To the Point here on GBN TV and Classic Radio. Let me say welcome back to my guest. That's Mr. Dwright, Horsford, of course, representing the New National Party this morning here on the program. Mr. Horsford, welcome back once again. Let's continue our discussion this morning. I want to get back into the politics just a wee bit this morning. Your thoughts on politics. Let's hear it. We don't have a mandatory retirement age, for let's say for the age for politicians, as we do for civil servants,
right.
And most other employees. Should that be implemented, in your opinion, sir?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't take such an inflexible approach to it. Leadership, yes, age does matter in any endeavor in life, but certainly in leadership, and we've seen that in history, there is no rule, written or otherwise, for mandatory retirement age in leadership. There was no mandatory retirement age for Moses, none for Ronald Reagan, none for Fidel Castro. So I don't think that is what is important. I think what is important is vision and ability. And the public, the people will summon leadership from wherever it is, and however old or young it is.
Yeah.
It is not something that you can encase in terms of the dimension of age.
Yeah.
I think it's largely vision and ability, willingness to serve, and it's largely dependent on the people. The people can call anyone. As in the scripture they say, a child can lead and a child shall lead. And in some instances, an old priest may be called out of retirement to lead. So it is a dynamic thing, and it's not really dependent on age, no. So in short, I don't think there's any such inflexible rule, and there should not be.
All right. Well, I certainly hope you understand the direction I was posing this particular question.
Certainly.
Now, some political pundits say Grenada is almost evenly divided in support for both the NDC and the NMP. Do you see it in that particular way, sir?
I don't know. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know from what they are premising that proposition. In every country, there is a political divide, and that certainly people don't support. All of them don't support the same political organizations or hold the same political views. As to whether we are so sharply polarized as to descend into one of those examples of states that can't get their act together and that are states that are failing, I don't think we are anywhere near that at all. I think there are very contentious, controversial issues between the parties, and that is good. That is a healthy thing, because our politics is that of competitive electoral politics, and each party is vying for the confidence, the hearts and minds of the public to invest in them the authority to govern based on their policy propositions, their ideas, and their vision. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
All right. Good.
We expect that.
So true. Now let's get into a little bit of the conversation as it relates to the economy. Now, our economy, some folks would say is in that doldrum, if this word suits to come in there. We know the high food prices, we see that, the large import food bill. Given that part of the problem, we know it's global. It's not just a Grenada thing or Caribbean thing, but what do you think we'll be able to untangle Grenada in the case of that nature?
Well, I'm not an economist, but certainly all economists will tell you that there needs to be stimulus of an economy. Certainly we are experiencing a number of exogenous external shocks on our economy, and one of the concerns I personally have is that there seems to be a major war looming in a certain part of the world that will have a very profound fallout effect in our part of the globe. But as to the domestic side of things, we are experiencing difficult times, and there's a downturn in the economy. There isn't that spending that we need to have that, what they call the multiplier effect, and the spin-offs that come from that. I think right now the focus should be in trying to alleviate that pressure on people, and especially with the cost of living. But as well, we must recognize that there are some self-inflicted wounds on this experience that we're facing now. One of them, and I will say it here, is that you have the largest workforce in the country, which are public officers. And for some reason or the other, it was thought best by the administration to initiate a fortnightly payment of salaries. Now that may appear to be something innocuous, but it is not. It is not innocuous at all. No other country, none of the larger economies like Jamaica or Trinidad operate a fortnightly payment cycle. Now, in my view, I think this was done to prove some sort of point. But what is the effect on the economy? There has been no positive effect on the economy. The mercantile cycle of trade and commerce internally operates on a monthly cycle, monthly payment cycle. And the effect of monthly payments in economies like ours is that it has a multi-layered effect in spending at the end of the month. So, for example, a housewife or a householder, let's say particularly a woman may, for example, go at the end of the month and make a large purchase, major shopping, as we know, what we call the mountain shop.
Yes.
You know the thing, the mountain shop. And you do the mountain shopping and you may buy 2 whole chicken because you're looking at Sunday lunch. I myself, I look forward to that. You know about the Sunday lunches and so on. And certainly that kind of purchase affects different layers of the economy. It reverberates at the mountain cycle. When you pay people fortnightly with half of their salary, you're not getting more expenditure. You're actually encouraging people to be more tight-handed.
Yes.
So in that example, that scenario I gave you, the woman is now going to the supermarket, and instead of buying a 2 whole chicken, she's buying chicken parts. The expenditure contracts. And I don't care what they say. I think it is clear that is what has been happening and that is what is happening. And that is most unwise. And I don't think that is a policy initiative that has really helped us. It's something that I would encourage should be discontinued.
All right. Do you think the present administration is doing enough in terms of the incentive to grow the economy? Do you think enough has been offered, especially to the regular citizens of this country? Do you think the present administration is going in that direction, in that direction properly?
Well, what are the incentives for economic growth? What I've been hearing is that every time there's an assessment by the IMF, that the IMF says, well, we had X% growth and that we are paying debts and so on. That may be fine, and that you're collecting revenue. That may be fine. But economic growth has a lot to do with expenditure, the rise of business and the creation of jobs. I am not sure that there is an increase in employment in the country. If you look around, I am not seeing any massive explosion in construction in the country, which is a major driver of economic growth. Earlier on, we spoke about the multiplier effect. And this is one of the things that significantly contributes to the multiplier effect. That sort of private sector spending, that sort of building where people can take risks and hire other people to do new and creative things. And I'm not sure that is happening at all, if we are to be honest with ourselves. And this is the kind of conversation we must have with ourselves.
All right.
Party or no party, yellow or green.
All right. Now, do you believe that, my question on this one goes this way. Do you believe that, let's get to one more, still on the economy, keep it a little bit localized in this one. Do you believe that the houses which have been gifted from a friendly government should be actually paid for the recipients of the houses? Do you believe that? That's your take?
Well, that's a matter of government policy. What I understand is that the initiative was so that the most vulnerable and needy get the opportunity to have homes in the country. At times, we must appreciate that government is not operated as a business. Yeah. Government and business are two different things, because the state has certain primary obligations. One of them is the welfare of citizens, particularly the most vulnerable amongst us. So that if you do not appreciate that is a key component, of the task of government, especially in our small island context, then I think you've lost the plot. I think those houses, should have been afforded to the very needy amongst us and to those who they were intended to benefit.
Yeah.
There will be room, certainly, for the creation of housing schemes for different sectors of the social strata. You may have those in the lower middle class that you may have a housing scheme that you want to have them contribute to. But certainly these things were intended for people who need it most, and people who, based on the policy I see that is being put forward now, can't afford that. So what will happen is that they will go to other persons to whom these houses were not intended because they can pay for it.
All right. I mean, we hear of the incentive being offered also by government, the Project 500 and so forth. That I guess you have heard about that, and all the other, of course, incentive that has been thrown out in terms of helping in post Hurricane Beryl. How do you feel about these options that have been thrown out there?
Well, these programs for housing in the aftermath in the wake of hurricanes as devastating as Beryl are always good. In fact, they are necessary, and these programs are good programs if they can be implemented well. If they are hastily contrived for political benefit and hastily undertaken, I have a problem with that, in that you are risking quality. You're risking quality, and I understand for now there may be the urgency to have a PR response because of the widespread criticism of delays and ineptitude on the part of government and its agents. But part of governing is to focus. You can't be helter-skelter.
Yeah.
You have to focus. And when you focus, you produce something that is reliable, something of quality. So in relation to those programs, I have seen the rollout of and the marketing of those proposals. I think the initiatives for housing are always good. The question is if they are implemented well, and I'm not sure that is happening either.
All right. The New National Party, their main focus as an opposition. Do you think the New National Party needs to do more as an opposition as it stands right now, or you think they're doing enough as an opposition?
Well, I see a lot of detractors criticize the party a lot, particularly agents and surrogates of the administration and the party and administration. But there seems to be also a very bizarre obsession with what is happening in the NNP and what is not happening in the NNP. As far as I checked, I think the NNP is not in government. It's not in charge of the affairs of the country. The opposition, as an opposition, our role in terms of implementation obviously is limited because we are not in the driver's seat. But certainly I think that we are doing what we need to do at this time. We are holding the government to account. We are examining all these policy initiatives. We are highlighting promises that have not been kept. We are pointing out failures, systemic and political. We are preparing our party for governing. We are attracting people. We are attracting people with ideas, people of substance to come forward, which is what any serious political organization will do and does, and we are doing those things. So as an opposition at this time, you notice the political leader did say that we gave them an opportunity, a 2-year period to settle in themselves, and that honeymoon is over. The opposition will now agitate on behalf of the people. We will scrutinize, we will make recommendations, but most of all, above all, we will engage with the public continually and meaningfully going forward.
My next question leads to you directly, sir. Is there plans for you to be running in the next election, if you're being called upon?
Well, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But at this time, as I mentioned before, that my primary role is to assist the party in its reorganization, and there are a number of things that I'm engaged in for the party at this time, particularly where electoral reform is concerned, and electoral and voter registration matters, which are critical.
Yeah.
I certainly won't elaborate that here now, but this work is well underway.
Okay.
Well underway.
We drew for a break. We come back. We still have more to discuss when we come back. Stay with us, folks. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio, GBN TV. We will be right back after the break.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started. This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember only with GBN.
Kalinago Beach Resort, Caswell Stationery Services, Real Value IGA Supermarket, and the Sissons Paints, proud partners of the 18th Annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert, Saturday, October 26th, Grenada Trade Center, 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back once again to our listeners and viewers. It's To The Point here on Classic Radio and of course GBN TV. It's Opposition Tuesday, and we have Mr. Dwright Horsford representing, of course, the opposition this morning here on the program. And Mr. Horsford, welcome back once again. I do have another question. I want to get into a bit of your views on what's going on around the world and in the region as a whole. Now, there's this global crisis in terms of the ongoing wars. The Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, Iran, and the role of the U.S. the role the U.S. is playing, I should say. What is your take on the possible the course in these regions? What's your take on that?
Well, earlier on I mentioned that I'm particularly concerned about the conflict in the Middle East, particularly right now the Israeli strikes on neighboring territories and states. I think that can precipitate a major war in that region, which will have fallout effects such as supply chain effects for us, rising oil and fuel prices, and can even exacerbate the inflationary effects and situation that we're facing now in our own country. So that is something we need to watch very closely.
Yeah.
As to the conflict in Ukraine, that is a geopolitical conflict that has emanations of a bygone era, the Cold War era, because the center of it is the the desire not for Ukraine to be part of the NATO alliance and what Russia sees as the encroachment of the NATO alliance on its doorsteps and to its frontiers. These conflicts, I suspect, will go on for some time until there are tectonic shifts in the geopolitical situation where the focus would be placed on other areas of the world for one reason or the other, whether it's its natural resources or territory. Because all conflicts are usually associated with those things, resource and territory, and regional hegemony or control. So these things are we in small states like ours, we can't have any control about that, but certainly we need to watch them closely and be prepared for the shocks that come from those things that affect our business and economic cycle, because it's not enough in our leadership to just say, well, we have no control over the wars. We know this. Nothing that Grenada or St. Vincent, St. Lucia can do at the United Nations or otherwise to stop the war from happening or to stop these conflicts. I mean, these things have been happening for quite some time, in some instances, decades. But our role always is to ensure that we do the best to cushion the effects on our people, because leadership is a local leadership. Our people elect us to mind our business, so to speak. We must mind our business. All politics is local, and that's so very true.
All right. Do you think that the region as a whole is doing enough to, of course, to hold on to the concerns that these wars are having on other parts of the world? Folks, as you mentioned, we are small. We're not going to make a major dent in these wars in any way or the other. But the concerns that is wavering away already, and we're already feeling the effects some way or the other. It may not be as crushing as some other countries are feeling it. But do you think regional governments should have, of course, some major concern as relates to these wars?
I think they do, and I think they have expressed it jointly and independently. Certainly they have expressed it through the sub-regional organizations of those sub-regional integration organizations, CARICOM level and so on. As to whether beyond the unified expression of their views and fears regarding escalation of these global tensions in hot pocket areas of the globe, as to whether they are united in other initiatives to safeguard the interests of our small states is another question, is something all different altogether, which I'm not in a position to say definitively. But certainly they need to do so. A united approach is not just in the declaration of how we feel, but we need to sit down and assimilate the ideas and be prepared for fallouts. That is what it is about, I think one of the former leaders in the region said that essentially when you're in government in these small states, you're essentially asked to manage deficits. That's what you're doing. You're really juggling deficits, and the more skillful amongst us manage to get out of just merely managing deficits and create little pathways for some real development. And I think that is the struggle. That is always the struggle, to get past juggling this big black hole and to actually get some real development.
All right. Now, there's this call to arm approach that's simply creeping into the Caribbean. The Venezuela-Guyana situation is one example. Haiti is another. How do we as Caribbean people put a brakes or before it's spiral out of control for us?
We must recognize particularly Haiti. You see, all of these things are historic conflicts, and they are conflicts that predated our independent existence, that is to say, our existence as states. Yeah. In other words, they existed at a time when we were mere colonies and greater powers were at play. Perhaps they did not have the foresight to know in the case of Venezuela that there would be substantial mineral and other resources underground, underwater in that region. when they were engaged in their conquest and map drawing, territorial aggregation. But in the case of Haiti, it's a particularly heartbreaking story since the days of the Haitian Revolution, being the first Black Republic, and they have never managed to get their act together, and there may be many reasons for that, a multiplicity of them. I mean, some scholars and historians blame intervention by European powers and even the United States in their development and the evolution of their revolution that stunted it. Others feel that it is a combination of it. But as it stands now, peace and tranquility in Haitian borders benefits all of us. If it spills over, you will have a refugee issue, you will have a territorial integrity issue, crime and cross-border criminal conduct and delinquency, and which is already something that we're facing. When you look at the scene with Venezuela and post-COVID, I don't know if you've noticed that, but certainly in my last role, that's one of the things that we picked up. After the COVID-19 pandemic, there is a shift in certain criminal organizations, cartels, in terms of territory, and there's a squabble for territory, there's a realignment of territory, and this is manifesting itself through gang warfare, because some of these gangs are proxies for cartels who are trying to reestablish control of certain areas, and some who are trying to break the control of others and establish themselves in order to have a clear link, a clear passageway to traffic drugs northward and in Europe. So it's quite an elaborate maze of issues that face us now, particularly with this sub-region, this basin.
All right. We drew for a break, of course, a final break inside the segment. Folks, when we come back, we invite our listeners and viewers, if they do have a question or two, feel free to do it in the next segment coming up, folks. 435-2041. Don't forget you have double options of calling in via the WhatsApp and also direct 435-2041. We'll be right back after the break. Don't touch your dial.
This holiday season, get ready for a magical celebration packed with culinary delights, crafts, and music that will bring joy to your heart. But that's not all. Lots of giveaways are waiting for you. Stay tuned and make this Christmas one to remember only with GBN.
Kalinago Beach Resort, Caswell Stationery Services, Real Value IG Supermarket, and Assistance Paints, proud partners of the 18th Annual Hubbard's Legends in Concert, Saturday, October 26th, Grenada Trade Center, 7:30 p.m.
Looking to take your business to new heights? Advertise with GBN on our social media platforms and get noticed by our 138,000 plus followers. Reach a massive engaged audience ready to connect with your brand. No matter your business size, GBN is here to help you grow. Contact us today at admin@gbn.gd or WhatsApp 407-8458 to get started.
welcome back to our listeners and viewers once again. 435-2041. It's where we opened the lines this morning. And you have the option of calling. Mr. Horsford is here. You, of course, have the option of asking a question or two as we proceed. Let's go to the phone line. Of course, entertain our first caller. Caller, good morning, and you're live.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Telesford. Greetings to your guests. I'm quite happy to have an opportunity to punch a couple of questions to this goodly gentleman. The first question has a brief comment. Now, in response to your first question relative constitution reform in Grenada, your guest ended his deliberations by saying the following words. Constitution reform is, quote unquote, an evolving discussion. My understanding that about evolving includes the now, currently. Now, can the gentleman tell us where the discussion is being held? And doesn't the people of this country collectively have a place in this discussion? 2, can the goodly gentleman tell the people of this country, as a lawyer, you ought to be able to do that, tell us the number and year of the Constitution Act of Grenada, the number and year of the Independence Act of Grenada? If there are no numbers, can you tell the people why? 3, to the gentleman as a politician. Can you tell us what your political ideology is? And whereas I know that this word ideology scares certain people, I may paraphrase the question this way. Can you give us at least 2 of your philosophical beliefs which set the basis for your social, political, and economic theory in your political trajectory forward that you would desire to tell the people about? Trust that my questions are understood and look forward to your answer. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Will you, Mr. Telesford, sir?
Thank you, sir, Mr. Sir, and have a good day yourself. Mr. Horsford, you respond to the caller?
Well, I didn't suggest that there is any active constitutional reform discussions underway in the country right now. And there should be. As I said, it must always be a conversation that's being had. In terms of the Constitution being something that involves people, of course it must involve people. The discussion must, as I said, when I use the words evolving, it must often and regularly take place in space and time. So you can have the discussion this year, you can have discussion next week, but it must always be ongoing. And of course the people are at the center of it, because the Constitution that we have, in order for major alterations to be made to it, requires that direct input by popular say-so, that is, by referendum. The people must authorize it. And so certainly, and the short answer is yes, it must involve people. The Constitution of Grenada was enacted by Order in Council, not Constitution Act. And it has been made effective, and there's no need to go backward in time to look for acts and that sort of thing. Constitution has been given by Order in Council. It became effective on the 7th of February, 1974. For Mr. Ruler, in relation to key components of my own political philosophy, I would indicate in summary that I believe in social justice, and I also believe in the free market economy and commerce. But commerce must be regulated. In terms of the economy, must be regulated so that government must always ensure that it looks after the poor and vulnerable in society, to give them an opportunity to lift up their lives. As we say, to allow black hen chicken to rise. That is the essence of my cornerstone political, philosophical underpinnings.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're live.
Hello?
Caller, you may have to lower whatever device you have in the background and give us a call back, 435-2041. Let's go back to the phone line. Caller, good morning, and you're live.
Yeah, morning. I'm listening to Mr. Horsford, and to tell you the honest truth, he's not coming across speaking with confidence and surety, but that's not really important. Two things, in relation, there's this hot topic about succession planning and a leader. Well, it's sad that after all these 40 years, what I mean, after 40 years, you can't find a leader, but it probably ought to go to a convention right now. Peter David will just lick all you, so forget about it. Anyway, what I'm talking about too, is the main topic is really the salaries he's talking about that the government paid twice a month. Now, I've worked in a bank, and I've known all my life, it's a regular thing. The construction workers, the hotel workers, and I think at one point the government used to pay what you call these people travel workers. That's what we call them the bush now. That are public works. These people used to come to the bank all the time and collect from government weekly salaries. That's years you're talking about. So I don't think what he said is justifiable. It's not wrong, and it's something very good. It's good for the economy. Although we don't probably have any statistics as yet, but for him to kind of run it down or do it it's no big thing. I think it's a good move because, like I say, it's not anything new. There's nothing new under the sun. I have worked in a bank, and we have done it before. It's a regular thing, especially to we used to do that to Glen workers. We used to do that to construction workers, hotel workers, and like I say, when I started early, we used to do that. Government workers used to be paid the travel people, used to pay their weekly people. So it was done before. So it's nothing new really to run down or to criticize the government really, about it because it was done before. And
all right, well, caller, thank you so much because I think you get the gist of her question or the statement that she's making. Any response to her?
Well, I don't discern that there was a question there. There's
more or less
no question there.
From her.
And I understand this particular caller's angular political perspective, and I don't wish to make any further comments there. It was an opportunity for her and her partisan political interests to express themselves, and they did. We're not in agreement on that. My criticism was on its effect on the economy. And I think there's an admission that there's no statistical report of note or recency to show that this has been effective as an economic stimulus or beneficial to the economy at all.
Let me say good morning to you. Caller, good morning, you're live.
Yeah, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Let's hear your contribution, please.
All right, sir. I want to ask your guest, can you please say to us, if you all get to office, which you all wouldn't, but what are you going to do? What are your plans for the school program, meaning that the not school fees, the fees that you pay to go in, this administration moves, so everybody can go and have an opportunity to education. Are you going to put it back? What are you going to do? Can you please tell us?
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution this morning. I hope you get just where the caller was going with her.
I didn't manage to get all of it, but I designed something about school feeding program.
I think she was more or less asking the question: if for some reason the new National Party gets back into office, if it's going to be removed or is going to be kept the way it is right now. I think that's the gist of the way the question was going. I hope I'm right about that.
I think all rational and objective people know that the new National Party has had these feeding programs in place before, and the trust and commitment of the new National Party to school feeding and the improvement of the lives of young people, particularly the people who come from poor and vulnerable homes who need the support in the school feeding program, is well known. So a new National Party administration will seek to improve certainly on the situation that exists now.
Okay. Caller, good morning, and you're live.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
It always bothers me. Every one of us want to talk about things that we do not know. Whether we want to talk about education, sociology, laws, or so on. Some people don't know about law, and yet they want to talk about law. Some people are liars, and they want to talk about the economy plus. Now, what I do know, education is being able to transfer what you learn, whether in law, whether in history, whether in mathematics, to reality. Now, I have listened to a lot of people talking about agriculture. If we do not do the practical agriculture and we have it in our head, it's useless. So we must transfer it to reality. Reality means the actual thing done. As people would say long ago, people was not academically educated. They might have been educated in particular field. That means they know how to do it. They have the skill, the knowledge, and the ability to do those things. I know I used to go with my father to clean land. So I could plant potato, I could plant dashing, I could plant this, I even plant nutmeg and they fall down now. So people only talking things they do not know. A man don't know about sociology involved in this. And this is the problem with us. Everybody is Mr. Know-all.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution this morning. We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning. You're welcome.
Hey, good morning, GT. Good morning, Mr. Horsford.
Good morning to you, sir.
Horsford, we see that you're back into grade at politics, and it's amazing because maybe you might be able to explain to us today why that he was rejected and replaced with Kennedy Roberts during the time of the election, because Dr. Mitchell didn't feel that he was qualified enough and that you cannot win. Now today I want to know how do you think that you will win again and have that confidence finally again into Dr. Mitchell? And we know that the NNP right now, they're going through a leadership condition right now where they have to determine who will be the leader of the NNP based on the Constitution. Okay, but Mr. Horsford, from since the time you come back, do you think that NNP is following the rules of their own Constitution, or Dr. Mitchell been violating the Constitution? And my last question to you, do you think that Peter David is qualified enough to take the NNP to the next election? And if he is that qualified, would you, as a delegate, put your vote on behalf of Peter David? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your contribution. Any response to the caller, sir?
Yes, well, as was expected. In reverse order, in relation to Brother Peter David, if Brother Peter David emerges as leader of the political party in which I participate and of which I'm a member, I will support the new leader. So that really is not an issue. In relation to matters of some, 15 or 16 years ago, these things are not of any contemporary relevance. And I understand the enterprise is to suggest that there's some sort of friction between myself and the leadership in Dr. Mitchell. In life, as in politics, one must always consider the highest common factor. And in my experience, involvement in politics is something that is like the sea. There's an ebb and a flow. And my participation in the NNP politics over the years has been an enriching experience. As I say, when one is involved in politics, one must experience things in order to grow. And when you're involved in a political organization, there are times when you will experience turns of events. As I say, sometimes it's a tumbling turn of events. But for me, I have no regrets, and I am happily involved in the political process. And I find it quite interesting that some people feel that others should not participate in the political process. And as soon as you indicate your willingness to serve, whether at the party level or national level, there is an immediate attack on you, and as if to say one set of people are the only people that must be involved in the process. But this is part of the politics. I expect more of these, but really these things are not very meaningful, and I'm quite prepared to deal with it.
Okay, we do have our final caller for the morning via WhatsApp. Caller via WhatsApp, good morning and you're welcome.
Good morning to your guests. Mr. Horsford, do you think that bi-monthly payments allow for better personal budgeting and cash flow management, as well as it helps with bi-monthly mortgage payments, which help to reduce interest paid over the life of the mortgage? Because the mortgage, when the principal is reduced, you pay less interest. Added to that, doesn't bi-monthly payments help build equity a lot faster? And if you doubt that, could you tell me why? Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
It sounds like he was reading that from something. But anyhow, that may be one angular perspective, that it will assist you in money management and so on. But let's put it this way. As part of my political philosophy, I don't feel you must shove things down people's throats. Money management are personal issues for people to decide themselves. The point I was making earlier was simply this. If you are making a major policy change like this, it must have an appreciable and calculable impact, beneficial impact on the economy. The simple point I made is this has not had that impact and is not having that impact. Whether a person is learning to spend less on needless things, that is quite a different argument to whether this is effective as an economic policy. The times that we're living now, these are bread and butter issue times. People are not interested in how you pay them, It's how much you're paying them. You're not interested whether you pay them fortnight or month end. And that is quite another issue for another day, about talking about the increases in salaries and so on, which have not in any serious way happened. So I appreciate that one might learn to be thrifty, but is that having any positive beneficial effect on the economy? I think the resounding answer is no. They know it, we know it, everyone knows it.
All right. The caller previously was going to be my final caller, but I had this caller on hold for a wee bit, so I'll just take it as our final caller. Sure. Caller, good morning via WhatsApp. Good morning, and you're welcome. And you're live.
Thank you very much, GT, and pleasant morning to Mr. Horsford. Well, three things, GT. I want to join with the sister earlier who spoke about the bi-monthly salary as an ordinary course of income payments, an ordinary course of income payments. Now, what Brother Horsford missed, and he ought not to have missed this, is that the public service, with an estimated 10,000 employees, have had introduced bi-monthly salaries on the historic premise that it increases circulation, as opposed to this lump sum spending that Brother Horsford is trying to defend. Can't defend lump sum spending. What you have is a spread of income bi-monthly, and our expectation, and the statistics is not yet in, but the expectation is that you increase income opportunities for persons, both in terms of creating employment and paying them bi-monthly. So if you're paying people bi-monthly, their spend is spread. So the spend is spread across the month as opposed to a lump sum spend at the end of the month. But that's only one segment of the population. The large majority of employees are in the private sector. They continue to be paid monthly. And from some of our encounters and engagements, many private sector employees will be happy if the employer pays them bi-monthly. We've seen and heard from many of them. Secondly, I want to say to Brother Horsford, the minimum wage is an important part of national obligation. Your party, in 23 years in office, never touched the minimum wage. So lifting people to an income threshold that could increase their ability to procure, to save, to invest is vital. Thirdly, housing. It is extremely important that you did, thirdly and fourthly. Thirdly on housing, the Chinese social housing, you were very ambiguous. The repayment rate for the first 52 units, combining Montgaroche, Sobeys, and Frequente, at 80% non-repayment rate. So our option was to have the new housing, Chinese social housing, to be affordable to the low-income person by getting a loan, buying it, and increasing the equity value of the home. So we are lifting people out of poverty in a sustained manner. Minimum wage and equity in the housing stock. So if you buy one of the single apartment units, Brother Horsford, it cost $71,000 to build it. You pay $51,000, so you have a $20,000 equity. And the area where it's located, the statistics have shown the market value for the one-bedroom apartments in all the Chinese housing estates on average is $144,000 in market value. That equity you can take to the bank. That's lifting people out of poverty. That's increasing economic opportunity. That's increasing income. And finally, the lady asked you not about, she didn't ask you about, probably I appreciate you didn't hear her clearly. She didn't ask about school feeding. She asked, if your government comes back to office, and she said she don't see it happening, I don't see it neither, but will you keep the tuition free at TAMCC and NULO? That's what she asked. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you so much for your contribution. Any response to the caller? We're a bit over time already, but I'll give you the opportunity to respond and then we take some closing contributions.
I kind of quite like it because it is a very valiant and energetic defense of NDC administration policies from just a very short interview with me. Clearly, the enterprise of it was to make sure that the policy initiatives and the correctness of it was reinforced, and that's quite fine. That's what the political debate really is about. But my view on this matter is that I'm not here to battle it. In time, as we discuss the politics, these things will come out, and most of these arguments about the housing and the correctness of it, that will be refined in time. In fact, many of it has been refined. Now, minimum wage, my friend, is not an increase in employment in the country, and it has not historically had that effect. That's not what a minimum wage does. In any event, the gentleman mentioned about the historical predicate for fortnightly payments was that there would be a broader income spent or spread. Now we're still subjunctivizing, we're still guessing, we're still in conjecture, and that's what I said earlier on. There has been no empirical, no scientific data that indicates that this has had a positive effect on the economy. That's the bottom line, pure and simple. It has not had that. So to tell me the statistics are not in, and the assumption was that if we do this and if we do that, that is still subjunctivizing. You're still in conjecture, you're still guessing. The reality is that the lump sum spending, we have the statistics on the effect of that. The effect of that is quite well known. This fortnightly payment, has it stimulated economic growth? Has it had any positive or beneficial effect on the economy? Answer is no. It has not.
Myself, and I want to thank you once again for being on the program. Any closing comments from you before we take
I'm quite happy to have been here and for meeting you for the first time. I've seen you conduct your programs over the years, and it's quite a pleasure of mine to be here. And I will be back again, and rest assured I expect many of these kinds of responses as we go forward, because this is the nature of the political debate, and it's going to get hotter and hotter, I imagine.
All right.
I want to thank you again also for allowing me the time to be here, and I look forward to our next engagement.
Sure, and you're certainly welcome to be back on the program anytime. You feel free to do so, sir. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point. We went over time a little bit, but it's of course expected. Until another edition, folks, have yourself a great day, and that's why I say goodbye. Have a good one, folks, and goodbye for today.